for Christina and Leighton, if you could speak to the journey that these two sisters go on through this episode of kind of understanding each other's perspective the more the episode goes on. Because I feel like they were very much at odds at the start, and then you can see the wheels turning more and more as we go through the episode of them saying, "Okay, I understand why you did this, and I understand why you were put in this situation."
I think, we come in hot with this, and there's this explosive realization that, that they are sisters. And what I think is interesting is that, we left the cliffhanger not knowing who the mother is, and now we have this information. And the strange thing is that we find out that Patty St. George has somehow conveniently compartmentalized this scenario for the last 20 years of her life and
Mhm.
somehow blamed her sister, blamed the woman in this who was really sort of the victim of a very serious relationship that took place over a certain amount of time. It wasn't like a one-time incident, and it was she was being manipulated and groomed in a certain way that Patty decided to just put on her blinders in order to survive. And until that moment where Nell says, I was only a year younger than Nan when this happened. I mean, I just got goosebumps really just thinking about it because I think Patty has never stopped to make that comparison because Nan was a little girl and Nan was she never compared them, and she hasn't seen Nell in so long to have to do that math and to have that understanding, I think is just a punch to the stomach for her and a moment of deep shame, deep, deep shame that I think that then she very quickly tries to start to repair. And just more to that, to add, I guess I would say the dynamic with the two of them, whether they want to necessarily acknowledge it or not, is that Patty was a mother figure for her. Their mother was unavailable. And that shouldn't have to be her responsibility, but it was to some extent. And I think that Nell looked to her for guidance. And also, after all these years, two things are true. One, it's like an old friend or I guess a sibling where you're like, it's been so long, but it feels like yesterday. All that love, all that familiarity, warmth, history comes into play. And the other thing, which is nobody gets at you like your family. It doesn't matter. Like we can irk each other in such a way. So the complexity of that relationship to explore it, especially trying to have one character enlighten the other one and say, you may not realize this because you're protecting your daughter who you raised. I was also your daughter and I felt left behind. The fact that they have even the most, um, just the inkling of the beginning of a reconciliation is very heartening.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Christine, for you, I feel like the word for Nan this episode is just like process. She's like processing so many things. She sent her sister off, at the expense of, sending off her love as well. And then you can see at the end of the episode, her wheels are also turning when she finds out, the gap of time in between when these sisters last spoke. So how do you think like everything that she's working through in this first episode impacts her through the rest of the season?
Mm. I love that you said that her word is process. I so agree because everything is just constantly thrown at her. I do think there's still so much adrenaline. We pick up right where we left off, and she doesn't really get to sit with her true feelings about a lot of things, I think. I think the feelings I have towards knowing who you are comes a little bit later. But I initially welcome you pretty quickly into the family, and we have a very intimate chat quite early on in episode one. Um, so I think it's just still a lot of shock. And then throughout the season, she comes more and more back to her own values and thoughts and opinions. And Yeah, and then you'll just have to see what happens.
We'll just have to see. I'm totally excited to see the rest of the season as well. But thank you three so much for chatting with me. Congrats in advance on this season and enjoy the rest of your day. I'm so excited to chat with you all about the Buccaneers. I'm so excited the show is back. It feels like it's been so long since the first season. So I was personally excited to see it back. I know fans are as well. And I'm enjoying season two so far as well. I'm so excited to chat with you three about this. Imogen, I'll start with you first, because Jenny's a character that, she takes us on a journey in season one. She makes a lot of decisions that, one might say are controversial, but at the same time, we have to empathize with what she's been through and what she's going through. How do you think the events of season one have impacted her where we meet her at season two? Because I feel like she has so much weighing on her leading into this season.
Yeah, well, I think, when we first meet Ginny, she's so goal-driven and she's so determined to live up to these like societal expectations and expectations from her parents that she is just tunnel vision towards, I'm going to get married, I'm going to do this. And then she finds herself in this kind of horrible marriage, but that we felt was important that it did feel like there was a love there, and the stakes were high in their marriage, and that's why she stays and puts up with so much. But I think then towards the end of season one, she really has been ostracized from her friends, and she's like losing that sense of community and her voice and herself as an individual. So I think that's all really set up for for season two, where it's she finds herself in this completely new environment with a guy who's kind of, they don't really know each other at this point, and a baby. So I think her perspectives have changed a lot, and she kind of figures out what's important.
Imogen and Matthew, like you all didn't really even share that many close scenes together in season one. So what was it like? Not only, you have a scene partner that, you've shared scenes, but not a lot of intense scenes with. What's it like going from that to season two? You're kind of secluded for a bit of the season within that world. How was that like?
I think it was just the same process as they're going through, because we hadn't worked together much on season one. We're now, in that respect, we were strangers.
Yeah.
And then,
but we did hang out like offset.
Yeah, but yeah.
Just to be clear, we are friends.
Yeah. but like
mates.
Working together, we didn't work together that much. So it was like we were sort of going through that process.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
It was kind of unfamiliar territory of being like, oh, this is someone new to work with, and they're both
which made it
out.
easier to act, because that's what they were going through as well.
They don't have a full level of like comfortability yet.
But we
as actors,
no,
as characters. Shit.
It's kind of like real life informing art. It's kind of new for both of you. It's also new for the characters at the same time.
Yeah.
And Barney, for you, Seaton had so much power within the context of that relationship for so much of season one, and suddenly he finds himself, not having that hold that he once had. Where do you think he is going into season two? Just kind of like he doesn't have, whether that was Lizzie at one point, whether that was Jenny as his wife, he doesn't really have that at the start of this season. So what do you think that's like for him?
Hell, I think he hates it. I think it's like what you said. He had power and he lost it. And I think for people like Seaton, who kind of, power is everything, and power is security, power is the place that you have to be in order to feel kind of comfortable and safe. You sort of have to be slightly dominating everyone around you. And I think he is, you meet him at the beginning of season two, he's lost everything and he's just desperate and determined to do everything he can to get it all back.
And Matthew, I want to know from like, personally for you, do you think that Nan and Guy are they the ship that we should be rooting for? Do you think that they are each other's one true person? And how do you think this season sort of advances that? Or do you think it's just more of like what we saw in season one?
I think it definitely advances for sure, because I think they're more clear on their feelings for one another and what they wish could happen between them. But I don't think that doesn't matter in terms of like just completely dependent on the situation they're in and where they find themselves. So I feel like I ship them. Come on, Nan and Guy till I die.
Yeah, man.
And Imogen, what was it like? So far we haven't seen, at least early in this season, because you and Matthew were doing your own thing in the beginning of the season. But how do you think all of this is going to impact the relationship between Nan and Jenny moving forward? Because there's been a lot has changed since we saw them in the first season. I feel like they've both done some growing up, realize mistakes. How do you think all this is going to coalesce when they come back together?
Yeah, well, I think, that Nan has just made this huge sacrifice for Ginny, and now she gets to live in Italy with, the one she wants to be with. So as a sister, there must be some feelings around that. That you're saving them, but you're also a bit you're kind of living my life. Or a version of it that could be, and Nan's such an adventure girl that probably is a life that's quite suited to her. But I think just given everything and given Nan's fight and Ginny's situation, when they come back together, it's just, I think after the initial feelings of this is actually, it's a little weird, I think they quickly just are super supportive again of each other. And I think Ginny realizes how lucky she is to have such a good sis.
Awesome. Well, thank you three so much for chatting with me. Can't wait to see the rest of the season, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
You too.
Thank you.